I'm Heather Klisch. I'm the policy director for the Massachusetts Rivers Alliance. First, I do want to thank the Watershed Planning Program and everyone at MassDEP for all of the work that you do in tracking and maintaining water quality across the state and for hosting these public hearings so that we may comment. The mission of the Mass Rivers Alliance is to protect and restore rivers and streams across the state. We have 85 member organizations from Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Connecticut, and we are committed to ensuring that everyone has access to water that is clean and safe for wildlife and for recreational activities like boating, fishing, and swimming. In support of this goal, Mass Rivers broadly approves and supports the proposed changes to the surface water quality standards here. The changes suggested increase protections for recreation, eliminate classifications that happily no longer apply to state waters. It's nice to see a commitment that we are not going back, and revise or qualify other classifications and criteria to make regulations clearer. We appreciate that these changes streamline the regulations and make aquatic recreation safer for the public. Mass Rivers would like to see water quantity explicitly taken into consideration in the surface water quality standards. Water quantity is an important factor in water quality, as low streams, rivers, or lake and pond levels can decrease water quality by increasing pollutant concentrations and the risk of cyanobacterial blooms. In short, the first ingredient in clean water is water. Many other states, including our neighbors in Rhode Island, Connecticut, and New Hampshire, have language in their state water quality standards that mandate sufficient water quantity to preserve water quality. Massachusetts should have the same, and Mass Rivers will include specific example language in our written comments that will follow and that we will submit by the deadline. Mass Rivers would also like to ask, I know you're not answering questions, but we we would like to put out there a question that we have on what appears to be a decision to exclude certain water quality criteria from the changes for this triennial review. Our technical team has noticed missing from this iteration's updates are the EPA nutrient criteria for PFAS, cyanobacteria, nutrients in lakes and selenium, as well as any new cold water fishery resource designations. Nutrient criteria for selenium, cyanobacteria, and nutrients in lakes were approved by EPA Region 5 or EPA 5, excuse me, approved by EPA 5 or more years ago, and there is a long list of cold water fisheries resources that are not yet regulated under the surface water quality standards. Overall, Mass Rivers and our 85 member organizations are deeply invested in protecting and improving water quality across Massachusetts. We thank you again for giving us the opportunity to provide comments on this critical set of regulations. And as I said, we will follow with written comments that may have more recommendations, but that's what we have so far.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Heather. That was great. Is there anybody else who would like to provide oral testimony? If so, please raise your hand and we will allow you to unmute. I don't see anybody, but if anyone else does, let me know because I am kind of scrolling through.
I don't see anyone else either, Danielle.
Okay.
Okay. Please raise your virtual hand if you'd like to give oral testimony and you have not done so. Please raise your hand if you'd like to continue your testimony.
There is just one question.
Danielle, is there nobody else raising their hand?
There's no hands. There's just a question in the chat about um, where can they direct the questions if tonight is not the appropriate forum?
Will there be a forum for people to ask questions?
Um, let's see, Andrew, I don't know if you want to further elaborate on that, but I was interpreting it as maybe email or written comments.
Yes, you can
So
submit if it's more like a public record request and you're asking for a document or something like that, then feel free to email us requesting a document and we can reply that way. Or if it's a question about the amendments, then or comment about the amendments, then it should be submitted as a question and we will answer in our response to comments, our written response to comments.
Thank you. The question was more along the lines of, I assume that the request to comment deadline is when they're all due. So if we're answering questions, we wouldn't have an opportunity to clarify any questions before the comments are due. There's no feedback loop there. So just asking if there's a good forum where we could do that, or if we should just try to put all of our questions and comments in a comment letter.
Submit all your questions and comments in a comment letter. You can ask your questions right now. You can submit your questions before the deadline, and we plan to respond in a formal response to comments later.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, well, if there are no other comments or testimony, I thank all of you who testified today, as well as those who have attended this remote hearing without testifying. After the public comment period closes at 5 p.m. on Monday, February 9th, 2026, we will review and consider all public comments received, including oral comments made during this hearing and all written comments submitted via email or regular mail prior to finalizing their amendments. The final regulation will be published on MassDEP's website, and we will notify all parties who have participated in the public hearing process. There being no further testimony, I hereby close this remote hearing at 6:50 p.m. on January 27th, 2026. Thanks.